Hi, can you read this? Most respondents would say hello. A child from Pakistan would answer Magnet Naim Parwich, which means I don't know. You'd be surprised that there are 61 million more of those illiterate children all around the world that don't know how to read or write their own names. They never get the chance to go to school, and several other conflicts in their lives halt these chances. Shouldn't we try to stop global issues every time? Isn't it a key to actually being able to live in a sustainable society? If there's a key or solution to all of these knots, it is this. Education is the solution to everything. Depending on where you stand geographically, there might be several reasons that explain the lack of education in your life. Well, childhood. In developing Middle Eastern countries such as Pakistan, India, and Yemen, many reasons persist because of the country's environment. First, there is location and conflict. Schools are miles away from their homes, so they must take walks during the hottest months. Also, children are taken as refugees in wars and get no opportunities for life. Second, there is a lot of children that stay in child labor and poverty. They must work tedious jobs to provide additional income for their families. They are taken to war in schools that fee a small amount and take away from a month's wage of a family. Finally, there is morbidity and teacher shortages. Because of diseases, most children drop out of school before they can learn to read or write. Also, several teachers die of disease, causing a lack of them for children's schools.
But all is not lost. If every child had education for 1 year, then the chance of contracting HIV in developing countries would be cut by a third. Since education teaches kids about sanitation and it keeps them busy, it will really avoid the contraction of diseases at an older age. Also, infant and child mortality rates would be 9.5% less. The reason for this is how schools teach women how to take care of their babies and how to keep themselves and their children healthy. In addition, it has been proven that approximately for every $1 invested into the education, somewhere from 10 to 15 would be generated in economic growth. This is so because when you invest money into education, children that go to school have a higher chance to get a job and help out the country's economy. Education could also break the vicious poverty cycle, where someone uneducated can't find a job, so he earns no money and lives in poverty. His or her children are born in poverty with no money for education, leaving them with little to no opportunities for a job, making them poor, and it goes on and on and on. One of the biggest problems these days is education. With so many people on this earth, turns out education can actually lower fertility rates quite drastically, especially in undeveloped countries. The cause of such thing is that much of increased fertility rates are because of women having children unintentionally. Schools can teach women how to avoid having children. This could especially be implemented in poor countries and highly populated countries like China and India.
Many countries invest not only into education, but to the modern one, like South Korea, Finland, and Singapore. In these countries, education is not only abundant, but it is revolutionary. Education programs in these countries have differences. They are generic. They are different and take the most out of their students. So we should take these countries as examples for countries that are just developing or starting their education systems. So countries like these are not only ones to follow, but they also have to put support and teach developing countries their ways.
What is education? The first thing that comes to mind with several people is that education is when a student goes to class with a pencil and a book, and the teacher teaches the whole class. The reality about nowadays is that most children do not even get the opportunity of even knowing what school is. There are several interrelates that cause a lot of damage in most childhoods of Middle Eastern countries. Out of education, millions and millions of possibilities could emerge into changing the world and the future in ways no human could ever imagine. Many aspects of different perspectives, education will always end up being life. An investment in knowledge pays the best interest. As weather, geographic, economic, and social conditions impede children all around the world from receiving a decent education, we must also promote sustainability to help the children amongst this crisis. The cries and prayers of the whole world and the generation of children must be heard and nourished into accomplishments. If one student, one teacher, one pen, and one book can change the world, what do you think would happen when 61 million more of those joined? There might be several alternatives to a conflict or issue that can come in any size, but if humans could get close to magic, it is education, for it is the solution to everything. Now you might be asking, how can I help this cause? First, you can volunteer to teach in poor countries in need of education. You can donate money for a school of uneducated people, which doesn't necessarily need a steady income. Or you can donate money to move children from areas without education. Together, moving forward alongside education, not only will generations today, but the future will be able to wake up with knowledge, compassion, and determination towards a new dawn and for every moment after. All of this can only be achieved if we all aim at the same target. Well then, how can you make a change?